Welcome to Boneheaded Boaters. Here we are loading another house onto a barge. This time, look at that. 50% of a house. I wonder who got that in the divorce.
Divorces are quite terrible, especially if you're a boater. I have to imagine trying to split your boat up with somebody absolutely sucks, the same way splitting a house does. And I bet it can be a little bit annoying, and speaking of annoying, we're going to go ahead and talk about that today. Some of the things that may annoy us while we're out on the water. Welcome back, guys, to this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Speaking of annoying out on the water, though, nothing more annoying than your drink getting warm while you're out there. Well, we've got a solution. Today we're going to give away one of our Drain Plug Mafia tumblers. Really simple. All you have to do to be eligible to possibly win, hit the like button now, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and leave a comment below, and we're going to pick our favorite comment, and somebody's going to win a tumbler. Now, of course, in boating, there are many things we can run into out on the water that can kind of get under our skin and annoy us just a little bit. One of the first ones that I notice happens quite often out on the water is people overstating their abilities, thinking they can do more in a vessel than they really can pull off. I mean, if you're out on the water long enough, you're definitely going to see this guy, that guy that says, "Hold my beer, watch this," thinking he's got it when they really don't have it. It can be anywhere from doing water sports to a certain level, or somebody overstating their abilities to captain a vessel, and this one happens quite frequently on the water. The story's almost always the same too. Somebody will look at you and say, "I've been captaining boats since I was 3. My daddy had a 100-foot yacht, I was docking it when I was 10. And then the second you put them behind the helm on something, they almost always wind up hitting something. Now, the overstating of abilities will not end there. Sometimes you may find yourself out exploring some new waterways, places you've never ventured to, and maybe you've got a friend with you, and the next thing you know, that friend starts talking to you about how they grew up on that particular waterway. "We went to this lake every summer. I know it like the back of my hand." And this can be a really easy one to fall victim to, and the next thing you know, you've got your good friend next to you telling you, "Hey, pull into this cove. We used to go here all the time with the family back in the day. It's plenty deep. You won't have any issues whatsoever." And you might ignore your electronics, and the next thing you know, you find yourself in a little bit of trouble. Now, our next annoyance is another very common one on the water, and these people, at least though, don't try and hide it. And that's the people we're going to run into out on the water that don't have a freaking clue what they're doing. Now, of course, you're going to run into these people everywhere. It's not just one location, but I do feel like the US is a little more predominant than some other areas, based on the fact we're pretty much a checkbook captain country. For the most part in the US, if you or daddy's got a big enough checkbook, you can find your way out onto the water, kind of like the situation we see here. Obviously, our jet ski boy really didn't have a clue what he was doing. He went flying past his boat in the middle of a no-wake zone, and of course, because he was going too fast, winds up smacking into this dock. I'm sure daddy's not going to be happy when he gets the phone call about this one, the same way the people on this boat aren't real happy about getting splashed in the middle of a no-wake zone. Our next annoyance we're going to talk about out there on the water, unfortunately, is one that everybody is going to have to deal with, and that annoyance is going to be the weather. Now, there are many different factors with the weather that can annoy you in your boating lifestyle. The first one, of course, is going to be the temperatures, and that's the one many of us in the US are still dealing with. It's still a little cold, so it still kind of stinks to get out there on the water, and the water is definitely still a little cold in most areas, unless, of course, you're one of those Florida boys. The next one is going to be the wind, and of course, the wind affects a lot out on the water. It affects your ability to control your vessel. It also affects the local sea state and the conditions that you'll be out in on the water. And this one's always the tough one because weather is just wily and unpredictable. Yeah, we can sit down in the warding, watch the weatherman on the TV, let him tell us how perfect the day is going to be, only to find out when we get out there it's a little rougher than we thought. And our next annoyance we're going to talk about out there on the water, well, that's going to be those pesky bridges.
There he goes.
I mean, this is one that I never personally really considered as an annoyance, but I've been sent so many videos over the past couple weeks of boaters taking out aggression on bridges, going out there and just running into them and ramming them. And I mean, I do understand, if you've got a vessel with taller features, a bridge probably could be an annoyance, something that could slow you down. I mean, only if the government could come up with a way to kind of help solve this problem. Maybe if they could go out there and put the heights of the bridge, or listed on charts how high the bridges were, then people with taller vessels might be able to plan a route where they could try and avoid lower bridges and they could get under. And yes, Snowblower 817, before you jump in the comments saying they already do this, yes, I am laying the sarcasm on quite thick. Then of course our next annoyance you're going to run into out there on the water is that guy that shows up at the sandbar flexing, that one that always has to have the best, have the most, or shows up with his 17-foot boat with trips on the back. Heck, maybe that could be you though. Once again, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment, and maybe you'll be flexing on your friends with your Drain Plug Mafia tumbler. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Brandle2, James Post, Carl Trays, Bell Tower Times, JPFPV, Oyo Shack, Shane Kiernan, Kevin Deeb, and Jay Gotta7 and Ed Griffin Sr. did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.